Welcome back to the Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard, Managing Director and founder of The Sales Doctor. I'm joined today by our guest, Graham Arrowsmith. Now, Graham comes from the UK. He runs a consultancy focused on helping organisations market to the affluent. It's called Finely Fettled, and in September, it will celebrate its 10th year. So that's quite an achievement. In 2016, Graham, along with Kevin Appleby, who will be a guest in a future episode, started one of the world's longest running podcasts. Wow. The Next 100 Days is what it's called. And like Graham, Kevin is also from the north of England, where folks still talk to each other. Graham combines career experience with strategy, data, copywriting, design, direct mail, print, and integration of digital media to help clients attract affluent and high net worth individuals in the UK and around the world. And just so you know that he's a really well-rounded guy, Graham actually is celebrating his Ruby wedding anniversary next May. He has 3 grown-up children, 2 granddaughters, has an MBA, but is still studying new skills every day. He walks 10,000 steps most days and is a lifelong supporter of Leeds United. Well, welcome, Graham.
Well, it's a bit like the King's Speech, isn't it?
It is.
I wrote it, but so no. I am delighted to be with you, Ingrid. I mean, we were very fortunate to get you on our podcast, and you were an absolute star. And anybody who hasn't come across Ingrid's podcast should immediately tune in, because I mean, you offer great value, and you've always got that backdrop. I don't know whether it's a sort of an AI thing, or, a sort of a made-up thing, but if it's not, you obviously live in a lovely house.
Thank
It
you.
might not be yours; you might have just nipped in, but honestly, seriously, you are such a lovely person. You are right. I've been married 40 years next year, and I don't know quite where we're going to go. We have a trip to India planned later on this year, so that's something we're looking forward to.
Absolutely. No, that's a huge achievement. That's really next level. Well, congratulations on the success of the Next 100 Days. And I absolutely loved being a guest. So thank you for your very kind words. But I'm really curious because each of you, you and Kevin each have your own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it in 2016 that brought you together and made you think, you know what, let's create a podcast and let's call it The Next 100 Days?
Well, the first part of that, I mean, we got together because we were listening separately to another podcast. Now, some of you might remember back in one of the very first podcasts about business and so forth was by a guy called, it's actually a couple, Jason Van Orden and Jeremy Franson. Now, some of you are going to be ahead of me because you might remember it called The Internet Business Mastery. Now, we sort of tuned in and we listened to this, and it was superb. These guys were really synced together, and it's great listening. But they also had a Facebook group and a course. Now, Kevin and I both got the course. We ended up being in the Facebook group associated with that course. And of course, Kevin noticed I was from the UK, and it just relentlessly, it was like one of those stalkers on the internet, when they sort of check out your social media and they send you love letters and all that kind of, it was like that, So when you ask him, it just say, apparently you stalked Graham, which he did. But so we ended up talking about this, and then eventually we just said, we're quite, most people before they have a podcast, Ingrid, they worry about how they sound or how they're going to come across, and we were just the same. Now, not so much, but then, I mean, if you listen to episode 1 and 2 and 3, completely different, a lot more stilted, we were a bit nervous, and it wasn't quite the sort of more relaxed, don't give a monkeys really sort of approach that we got now. But actually, that was the origin of it. I think Kevin might have come up with a name, to be honest with you, and it was one of those things that even though he's an accountant, he's surprisingly creative. I mean, it's amazing that he's I don't know, he's living a double life.
I love
But yeah, he came up with a name, so I just went with it because why not?
Why not? And so with that name, what made
Mm.
you think about the next 100 days? Was it about having a quarterly focus on business?
Yeah, it was. And if you think about trying to do if you're a salesperson and you're asked to do a 3-year plan, you might as well tear it up the second you've written it, because the truth is you're not going to follow through all of that. And even if you do, then you're in a very staid, never changing business. And hey, we've got loads of things going on around us. So why not focus on something that's kind of more deliverable, about 3 months or 100 days, and the extra 10 days, if you like, it just makes it a nice round number. But there's a bit of review time before planning and review afterwards. But the execution is 3 months. I think that was the general sort of thesis. So the podcast for a long time was, and is up to a point, what can we get done in 3 months? And there's a lot. So we get great guests on like yourself and say, well, look, actually, you've got this sales thing. I wonder what we could get done. And so change, because most people got the same problem. So the issue is, how can I change that in the next 3 months or 100 days?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's a really important focus too. I don't want to spend too much time on the podcast because I'm absolutely in love with your concept and I really want to talk about its application now in a down market. But I really appreciate that question, of asking, what can we change in the next 100 days? And I think that if businesses really had that focus, predominantly in a down market too, where you don't have the luxury of knowing what the next 3 years is going to look like, let alone the next 12 months, because things are changing so rapidly, that the next 100 days is a really appropriate level of time to focus on changing something.
Well, you can't change the last 100 days, can you? So, I mean, at the end of the day, the logic is do your best with the next 100 days. So, I mean, you can definitely analyse what has gone on in the last 3 months, and that'll give you a really good clue as to how much you can make a change over the next few months. And so I think that look, I'm a lifelong sales guy. I've sold cigarettes, Lego bricks, you name it. I've sold postal, all kinds of different things. So at heart, I'm a sales guy. I run my own business, but you still have to sell your products and services, and so that's what I do. And I could, believe it or not, I could have retired in about 4 weeks, but there is no chance of that. It's just not that there isn't some money there, but I'm just utterly embraced in this change that's happening to us all with the advent of AI. But I'm sure we'll get into that. But at the end of the day, I just love what I'm doing. I love working with my clients, and basically it's a challenge every day. So I could say, right, I'm going to give up and just do a few extra steps a day, or I can basically keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. I heard there was a commencement speech that Jerry Seinfeld did, and he kind of gave permission, I think, to people like me and like yourself who really love what they do and can't imagine not doing it. And he was saying, that people say, oh, well, you're not going to regret the time that you spent with your family. You're going to regret the time that you spent in the office. And he said, well, it depends on the job. It depends on what you do. If you really love what you do and you have meaning and purpose to what it is that you do, then it's not a waste.
You're right. Absolutely right, Ingrid. You are absolutely right. Because the end of the day, I have the privilege of working from home, so my commute time has been radically shortened. But although I do, as you mentioned, I do my 10,000 steps a day, and I'm on sort of, I think, day 76 today. So I'm trying to. Don't get me wrong. I've been doing this for a few years, but if you take a break, then the clock starts. So I'm doing it now. I don't know whether that's the right thing or wrong thing. Anybody who's in fitness will probably say, hey, Graham, take a break, because, your legs are going to fall off or something. I don't know. The point is, the way I do it is that I think, and I listen to podcasts, I listen to ideas. And so and now I have a young lady who lives in India, and basically she's helping me. And so I do a WhatsApp with her on the way around as well. So, because with time difference, it's kind of important that have a conversation when I'm on the road round. So yeah, I enjoy doing that. It's keeping me active.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you've got a lot to be active and focused on. So let's now do the little bit of a gear switch, and we'll shift to Finely Fettled. Now, this is a business that I'm very interested in because it's very clear what you're about and who you're about. So it's focused on helping businesses attract more affluent clients and high net worth individuals through your database. Tell the audience a little bit more about why this particular niche and not everyone.
Have you ever heard of Zaza Gabor?
Yes.
One of her famous phrases is, "No rich man is ugly." And if you think of that as a sort of almost a mantra, why would you encourage people with less ability to come into your business than people who can spend more? So there's almost like a baseline that says, and if you're in B2B, get the big fish, etc. Get somebody with a big budget rather than a small budget, and often the smaller budgets give you the hassle and all the rest of that. So look, these people on the database are not all known to me. I might be just one of them myself, but the truth is that there's hundreds of thousands of people on there. Now, what I tend to do is craft the kinds of people that my clients want to talk to. So they might be, let me give you an example. They might be an investment company. I have one client that basically is providing mine to market gold and emeralds and so forth. So basically they are a sort of a jewelry gold type company, and they recently have launched a loan note, which basically means I give them a chunk of money and then they give me monthly returns. Very good monthly returns. Now, why on earth would I do that? Well, because at the moment inflation is high, and basically if your money just sat in the bank, then it means that your money is, so if you had $100 in your bank at the end of the year with inflation at, I don't know, 10%, it's worth 90. So if you don't have an investment for that $100 that can make you at least $11 or £11, whatever, then you're falling behind. So the logic is, can I get returns on my money that I can invest to get a better return, to at least stay ahead of inflation, provide other ways in which I can use that money in the future. So, I mean, that's a sort of very small story for a lot of investment type firms. And you can imagine they come to me, and what are they really hungry for? They're hungry for people who have that kind of money, who might be persuaded to invest with them. Now, in this particular case, I did. That was nothing to do with the fact that they were a client and so forth, but I did invest, and they're paying out. They've never failed. So the issue here is can I help not only select the right kinds of people for clients? Tick, yes. Can I help them craft the right kind of message? Yes. What's the best type of media to get that message in? Now, the younger audience now, Ingrid was saying, well, that's obvious, isn't it? It's Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. And up to a point, I would say, you're mad. Of course it's not. Not any of them. Well, some of them might just about work. Facebook, maybe. But the point is, most of the initial contact that I do for my clients is with direct mail and supported by telephone. And the reason for that is that it gives me the greatest reach amongst those sorts of individuals that because, truth is, the high net worth might be on Facebook. They're not on Facebook that long. And they're not on, they might have a Facebook account, but they do have the ability to buy certain products from Facebook, but you will not optimize your reach campaign through that. So, for instance, if I marketed to all the wealthiest property owners in High Wycombe, I'm going to get myself a significant list of people, and I will be hitting, I would say, 95% of high net worth individuals. because those properties will be occupied by people of wealth. And so one of the things that you can do is identify an audience, and then the big thing then is, what are you going to say to them?
Right.
You know, you got a lot of salespeople listen to this, and I've been a salesperson all my life, but basically, how are you going to interact with your potential customer? And that's something that I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to refine and improve. I would say that, you know, there are certain techniques that I use within my solution. One of them, for instance, is to get better quality copy. Now, I've recently signed up with an AI program, which is unbelievable. But the point is, this particular AI program it was developed by a A-lister copywriter, and so you can, you know, I could take your business and I could just pull down, say, I don't know, 500 to 5,000 words from your website and from other stuff that you do, whack it into this AI. It then builds a blueprint based on you, Ingrid, and your business, and then it creates the blueprint informs a bunch of frameworks. So the framework might be, write me a Facebook ad, if that's what you want. Write me a whatever. Right. And off it goes, and it just does that.
Yeah.
But the point is, if it comes out with copy that you think, oh, it's a bit wordy, there's too many long words, then you go into a refiner and you click nuke the long words, or remove the hype, or make it more woo-woo. You know, so it's aimed at sort of, you know, I don't know, people who are selling, I don't know, women's stuff. But basically, you know, what can I say? That kind of thing. You know, the kind of stuff that you would buy. But the point being is that you would make it a little less, what's the right word? Salesy, right? We do that. We don't lead. If you're in a coffee shop and you're not banging at somebody to sort of sell them, you're just going to chat. Yeah. So the kind of copy that I try and ask my clients to work with is something that's respectful, professional, but, you know, comes to the point and basically helps them get over the line. And the line is, with all of these things, is to earn either a phone call or it might be a click if it's an email, or it might be, you know, some response via mail. For me, that's the thing that gets me out of bed, because it's every single challenge, every single client presents a challenge. I don't do it. It's not the same every time. It's for me, it's crafting that challenge for that particular client.
Yeah, that sounds like incredible AI, actually, because I love the fact that you can take that initial blueprint from, you know, a website or whatever, a piece of copy, and then apply it to lots of different platforms and mediums, and it's still in the same voice, and then you can change it around, and it's going to learn as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, I did that first, and more or less at the same time, I was involved with something that about 12, 15 years ago, I was following a guy called Flint McLaughlin, and I thought he was brilliant. He's in terms of marketing, is in the top one. That was an old Brian Clough phrase, by the way. You know, Brian Clough, football manager in the sort of 70s, and he managed us at Leeds United for 44 days, and then we kicked him out. But anyway, the point is, he was a good manager. He went from Leeds to Nottingham Forest and ended up winning the European Cup twice. But hey, what can I say? But the thing is, Clough kept phrased, you know, I'm in the top one. So Flint is in the top one. Flint runs something called Mech Labs. Now, Mech Labs have done marketing experiments for, you know, thousands of clients. The thing that drives him, even to today, and last night he sent me an email about something, and basically that, even to today, he's driven by the thing that says, how can I get a yes? Every single salesperson watching this, because look, I've been in your shoes, I am still in your shoes. Basically, what the thing that we want is a yes. And one of the things that really drew me to him back in the day was, do you know how if you've heard of a sales funnel, haven't you? You've probably had people on talking about a sales funnel. And how do they draw it? It's with the wide bit at the top, and the just like a funnel is in the garden, whatever you're going to put, like, you know. But Flint says that's completely wrong. And you know he's right. Here's why he's right, because he takes the funnel and he turns it round. That funnel, gravity is not your friend. People don't fall into your funnel. They fall out. And if they fall out, it means that you've got a little no. And the idea is that if you can conceptualize the idea that you're bringing somebody into your realm, you might have a headline. That's interesting. That's got my attention. You might have a headline. I'm going to continue reading. That's what it's about, is it? And then you go through a series of what they call micro yeses. Now, those micro yeses enable you to, what's the right word? Look at things like exclusivity, the appeal of your offer, the fact that you're credible, and it being clear and having clarity. All of those things are sort of crafted on your landing page or etc. So you could do that in a sales call, by the way, but that's another story. But if you then conceptualize that somebody's going up the side of the funnel, they reach the top, that top bit is a macro yes, and that basically means I've made the decision to click the button, download the brochure, agree to the sales call, buy the product, whatever it is that you're actually selling. I was fascinated with this. And I was doing this back in the sort of like quill and pen day, 15 years ago. Yeah. And effectively now, of course, they've taken all 10,000 plus experiments and 20, 30 years of work in this area and trained an AI based on it. And that's why I'm a reseller of MechLab's AI. I just to give you one less slightly worrying factor here, Ingrid. I took your website this morning.
Yeah.
I got up when before I went to bed last night. I can tell you, because I've had no sleep whatsoever because of you. I mean, Christ. But anyway, so I took your website, and well, actually, it only took me a second. And basically, it's telling me where you could do better. Now I'm going to turn it off because it slows my screen down. So basically, but I just put your website URL in, and it basically said, right, these are all the things about Ingrid's website, the Sales Doctor website, and it said there were some things that you could do to optimize parts of your website. One of them, I think, I can share this later, but one of them was to do with one of your calls to action, which was a little bit kind of like you'd allowed one of your designers to do it as opposed to you, because I know if you'd have done it, Ingrid, it'd be way better. But the point is, the whole idea of it was that it just looked through and said, actually, according to the methodology, which is top one, you could do this little tweak, test it, and see how it works for you. Now, the beauty of this is that it's like press a button, give it, effectively turn it on, do something, interrogate it, do it again, and then basically ask it another question. And before you know it, you've got a sales strategy. Nice. You've got just, you've never had a better chance to make a sale. And this is a bit like, do you remember that sort of old tent thing? You know that you've got a tent and there's guys out one side within, like they're shooting arrows at Indians or whatever. Yeah. And on the other side, there's a guy with a sort of a Tommy, a rattling Tommy gun sort of thing, saying he's the sales guy and he wants to sell them this. Look, I'm too busy to deal with you right now. I'm shooting arrows. Without being disrespectful to your audience, which are all brilliant people, because I know that, because they're listening to you. And are you still shooting arrows? Yeah. And I've got the Tommy gun. Yeah. So basically, and it's in this sort of, this century now. Yeah. It's been out less than 2 years. Yeah. Less than 2 years. Yeah. We don't understand. Do you know when they brought? You won't know because you're not old enough. But I mean, neither am I. But when they brought out the steam engine and so forth, and back in the 18 whatever it is, nobody knew how it worked. It took them 70 years to figure out how, the actual steam engine worked, thermodynamics and all that kind of stuff. Didn't know. All right, they got on it and it moved. End of. That's all they wanted to know. AI, you can get in it and it sort of moves, but how does it work? What MechLab's AI is doing is helping train it to work better for you now. Yeah. So for me, I'm a big enthusiast for it because I've followed them for years. I know it works.
Yeah.
The changes that you can make to your websites and your sales strategies.
Yeah.
I know this works. And look, I won't pitch it too much, but you can find me. Just put my name in Google. I'm wanted. All that kind of stuff.
But it's great to hear about the ways that AI can really supplement a business and make it work more effectively, faster.
Yeah.
And also for small businesses who, and again, I think that this is relevant for, the discussion that we will have about, your whole strategy around business in the current market that we find ourselves in. I mean, I was saying to someone earlier today, I was at my executive meeting the other week, and it was the first time that the R word was that was the only topic of conversation. So when I think about smaller businesses in particular, and I'm thinking about the ways that they will be looking at every cost and the return on expenditure for everything. This is a tool that they can use to really get more out of what they're doing, and not just saving money on labour, but actually getting a return from it. They're able to iterate, they're able to test and measure.
You've said exactly what I was going to say, because basically, yes, there at one level, this will supplement your marketing knowledge, and it might be that somebody's getting in the way of that within your organisation, just does not deliver for you. Yeah. That's one thing. So it's an easy decision. But if it's something that, and actually this is not what it's about. It's not about removing people, but it is about improving your opportunity to make money, especially in a down market. Because look, you still have to, you need to survive this. You need to be able to get to the other side, and you will. By the way, you will. I mean, some people will fall by the wayside, but you know what? It was time for them to give up on their business, and it's probably going to be cash. So manage your cash really, really well. And I've got to say, as a Yorkshireman with a Scottish mother, if you know anything about people with short arms and long pockets, then you're meeting one there. So what can I say? So I would say just manage your cash really well. So for me to make that investment, and I have, and then basically. It meant a lot but then I figured that I can do a much better job for my clients and a much better job for introducing this to other people who can make their businesses work, and I would say almost especially in a down market. And the two things, when you look at the affluent market and MechLab's AI, is that the affluent market has more resilience in a down market. They may reduce a little bit of spending, but nowhere near what the mass market will do. The mass market, they'll be squeezed, but the high net worth, the affluent. The thing is, when people talk about affluent and high net worth, there's the people right like Elon Musk, right? That's like almost trillionaire status, not quite, but basically multi-billionaire. And then you've got like a triangle, and the sort of top maybe 5% are all high net worth. I mean, they're globally. You take any market, Australia, UK, wherever, it's the same. Numbers are the same. Yep. So basically, if you go down as far as maybe 20%, you're looking at the affluent. So if your clients are in that top 20%, you've got more protection for your business, because what you're doing is you're serving these people, and they're being less squeezed than the majority. So therefore, your business is going to survive longer.
Yeah, I think it's just very sound. So is Finely Fettled a B2B approach, or is it mainly B2C?
No, it's mainly B2C through businesses. So it's B2B to C. But it's typically, though, and quite often, people come to me and say, can you target this type of business? And of course I can. Because at the end of the day, believe it or not, it's not. I'm not writing to bricks and mortar. I'm writing to a person,
Listen.
and in fairness, it is different. You know that. You know that better than anybody. But at the end of the day, selling to businesses is slightly different because you have a wider buying group, etc. But actually, that getting you through the door, that initial sort of approach. I'll give you one example, and I don't know whether your guys do this. Have you ever had a guest talk about this? One of the best ways of getting through to high net worth individuals is actually sending them what they call a shock and awe package. Now, if you haven't come across that, imagine you've probably got thousands of shoes in a little closet around the back.
How did you know?
Yeah, well, just you're a woman. So basically, what can I say? Seriously though. But if you've still got them in the shoe box, that's this kind of size I'm thinking about. You don't have to be that size. It could be a briefcase. You could literally mail a briefcase. There's all kinds of things you can do. So take the box, and it could be a relatively small box. Imagine then saying to yourself, I wonder what I could put into the box that when it's received by the high net worth individual, or in this particular case, the business, why would it be interesting to them? And if you can answer this question, then you'd only send it to the people that answer it in a particular way. Let me give you an idea.
Yeah,
a value proposition is the answer to this question. If I'm your ideal prospect or client, why should I deal with you rather than any of your competitors?
Yes.
So if I'm your ideal prospect or client, why should I deal with you rather than any of your competitors? So that's the sort of value proposition question. And the way you answer that is with, if your answer, thinking about your own value proposition, if your answer to that doesn't start with because, or you can't put a because in front of your answer, then it's not an answer to the value proposition. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
Because we supply high net worth data because that's what our clients want most. They want to be able to get in front of high net worth individuals. And they want to have a message that goes to them that helps them get a yes of some sort. So basically, that's a cobbled together answer to the value proposition for me. So if you thought about it from yourself and sales, helping people with sales, what would that answer be? So that would be your value proposition. Now, remember that when you start going through the answers to that value proposition and describing your business, that's the sort of thing that will inform the content of a shock and awe box. Right. So basically, you might have a book in there about sales strategy,
right?
Or you might have something in there that's talking about investing in gold. It's a high net worth investor, or loan notes, or contrasting one against the other.
Yeah,
those are the sorts of things that are going to get them. Okay, that might be of interest. I'm always looking for investments. This guy's giving me this investment in here. So I got this book. It's a book. You can have one of those books written. All you have is 90 minutes of your time. It can be written for you, produced, and you bang them in these things for a few $1,000s, and you've got yourself a book. Mm-hmm. Then what you might do is put some. One of my clients would think about putting a chocolate bar that looks like a gold bar. So it's wrapped. So it's just something. But so that's one thing, and then you put maybe one or two other things about, it's helpful. Yes. And so it's not just about giving a load of gifts. I in the past I've had one client who sent it back to me, and at that moment that I sent this shock and awe box back to me. Can you imagine why they did that? Obligation. Right. I created so much obligation. They just couldn't. They had to give it back.
Right.
Now, don't get me. I wasn't really trying to do that. I wanted them to appreciate the proposition, sure. But it was a bit like, I can't face up to this. It's almost like you. And I knew then it works.
Right.
I think the only person who sent it back, but it clearly wasn't Scottish or from Yorkshire. So basically, he sent it back. But the point being is that if you can engender that the answer to this is they didn't need to send this, but they did. it gives them a sense of you've got huge authority. So if you're really struggling to get, and just imagine the gatekeeper, are they going to stop this box going to the boss? Not a chance. Not a chance.
Yeah.
It's, will they stop a letter? Well, they might put it on a pile. Will they stop a phone call? You bet they will. So basically, all those things that you've struggled with, and there are techniques, and I'm sure you've shared them on the show, but basically there are techniques to get round that. But it is hard, very hard. So if you said, how much is that sales call worth to you to get? I'd start thinking about a shock and awe box. Anyway, it's just an idea.
No, I love that. So one of the things that I think, is really important for sales managers, sales directors to be thinking about, especially now. I mean, they should always be thinking about acquisition cost and, customer acquisition cost. But a shock and awe box or a shock and awe approach to getting in the door, which is often the hardest part for a lot of salespeople. But if they understood that approach and they really nailed it, I imagine that actually that customer acquisition cost goes down, which sounds a bit counterintuitive. But when you factor in how many times salespeople bang on doors, spend time on the road, and the cost of their time to do that when there's zero return, and it might not be making any kind of impact at all other than just bothering somebody, rather than, a gift like that that's going to get someone's attention, that's going to be easy to refer to when you do pick up the phone and you have a conversation. It's a talking point. You've already got something in common.
Absolutely. And it is, you probably need a bit of help to sort of work out what goes into the ingredients, if you like. If you're going to send a cake that's going to taste of salt, then you're not going to do that. But at the end of the day, if you get something that's going to appeal, it's going to be credible, your offer is really clear, and it's exclusive. Nobody else is doing this. And, there's all kinds of opportunities. I mean, you could put a phone in there with one number on it, and that's your phone number. Are they going to ring it? Well, it might be, hey, Gladys, ring this number and tell them to bugger off. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're not likely to do that. But at the end of the day, there are various approaches. And if somebody received that from you, or a shock and awe box, and you then rang them and got through to them, they will take your call. Yeah. So all I would say is your chances of success will ratchet up. And in that way, Ingrid, it's very much is a really good question about B2B and high net worth. It's very similar.
Yes.
Because I've sold into both most of my life, and the whole idea of this is that can you get a yes? And if you can get that yes through a shock and awe box, then I've got to say a shock and awe box is a good deal cheaper than a sales guy.
Yes. Oh, there's no question about that. I think that that's something that a lot of Australian businesses who are listening will be really thinking about right now, and really starting to rack their brains about how they can come up with those shock and awe boxes. And I think that they would probably really benefit from some of the examples that you've given, like that phone number with just phone with one number on it. I love that. But the other thing I want to come back to was that reverse funnel. You talk about people don't fall into a funnel, but they fall out of them. And that's certainly something that every salesperson listening would be able to really relate to.
Yeah.
Graham, can you talk to us just sort of finally? I mean, you've covered so much ground today, and you've given us lots and lots of tangible things that businesses, salespeople can do differently in order to get more of the right sort of business that they want, the art of being really clear about your target. Yeah. But how would they go about, so once they've done their value proposition, how would they go about putting together an approach strategy beyond the shock and awe box? Because that's great. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I've noticed with a lot of Australian salespeople is there's a real hesitation of picking up the phone and actually having a conversation. There's this propensity to just do emails,
Yeah.
propensity to do text, propensity to do anything other than actually have a interpersonal exchange.
It's a young thing. I've got an intern who's been working with me for about 2 or 3 days, and it was like I don't really like receiving calls. I'm only young, but I don't really one of these university people who wants help for a period. So I'm saying, right, you can work with me for 8 weeks and do this. Thing is, does not like to receive calls. It's a Gen X or it's a Gen whatever it is Z thing. They just don't. They'd rather send a WhatsApp or a Snapchat or whatever rather than actually take a call. Why? Maybe they've just got out of the habit. But you know what? They're not always your market. And and what I've said to her that because she's working with me on a product which might help your thinking here, and I'm developing something called it's a really crap name, but basically it's small scale direct mail to the affluent. I'm trying to come up with a better name. I mean, AI keeps throwing names at me, but there's only so many times I want to say the word elevate. I mean, the thing is, if you do anything in AI, it'll say elevate, elevate this or unstick this. Or, it's got the same mentality. That's why I like that other copywriting thing because it nukes that kind of language. But to answer, so the whole idea of that is that we take 250. If you think about it from a B2B perspective, 250 high net worth individuals. Yes. We write to them. I'm coming back to the telephone in a minute. We write to them. That is using that blueprint idea. So it's all about them, and the copy is going to be tailored to them. And effectively, what we can do then is do the second step, which is a follow-up. Now, it's not for certain, but some people believe the uplift when you've got a letter followed by a telephone within, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, even if you can get it down to 3 days, then fine. It depends how many salespeople you've got calling. But if you do a customer service approached telephone call, not, hey, Mr. Arrowsmith, did you get our letter? We've got the best thing since sliced bread. The phone goes down. Can't do that. Do the kind of customer, hey, Mr. Arrowsmith, we wrote to you recently. We just wonder what you thought about it. And then there's a reasonable chance of engagement. We know with stats that direct mail plus telephone, on average, not always, but on average 3 times the response. Now, when you can get that, right, that gives, and some people claim a lot more, and you might get a lot more, you might get a lot less. But if you've got lousy people butchering your sales leads with lousy as a salesperson, your job is to get the sale, not to be a salesperson. Do you follow? At the end of the day, you're not there just to give them the patter. You're there to almost like, they're your ideal customer. So don't waste them. Bring them in with, honey rather than, shouting at them. So what I would say to you is that approach works for B2B just as it will for high net worth individuals. Yes. And what we're doing, and weirdly, this young lady, after a day with me, she has a part-time job, and she would never answer the phone. With one day with me, and the sort of, shall we say, the browbeating, she went to her evening job, and I'll answer the phone. I don't know what it was that triggered it, but it was, oh, by the way, the one thing that you will be doing, I'll be testing you on the phone. So it was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to answer the phone, aren't I? So to a point, your sales managers have got to, if you've got young people, you got to give them a bit of tough love. So basically, get them used to the phone, and actually, you'll find they're brilliant. The young kids are often extremely bright. They've got loads going for them. They just need to learn a new skill, a new old skill.
Yeah, a new old skill, absolutely. But so we're talking about new old skills here, and we're talking about in an age where people are facing a deluge of emails and texts on, every single day, getting something really fantastic in the mail that's a bit special, that means or tells them that they've clearly been thought of, by the person sending it. And then there's a follow-up phone call. Is it any wonder that it gets 3 times the success that just a DM would? So
not really.
No.
What you said was absolutely spot on. You care about them. You care enough to actually ring them. It means you're kind of important. Look, you might not be ready for the sale. You might not be ready to place an order right then or next month or whatever, but you at least then have developed a relationship which might get you a sale in a year or 6 months or whatever. And so you then have a drip campaign to them. We with MechLabs AI, we can actually create landing pages for all of our clients. So and really dead easy to do. So basically, if you don't have a landing page, then hey, you should have. So when they've got the letter, give them the opportunity of finding out more information on a landing page. Leave me your email, I'll send you the brochure. Something like that. So get them to come into your realm so that you can actually do more marketing to them at that point. So I fear that I've been talking way too much.
I have loved every minute of it, and there's so many sound grabs for me that will turn into tiles. Now, you work with companies in the UK, but also all around the world. Now, Graham, we'll make sure that we have your details included in the show notes so that people can find you. But besides that, what's the easiest way if somebody wanted to reach out to you and find out a little bit more about MechLabs or just about how they might be able to work with you? What would they do?
There will be a MechLabs site up, but it's going to be. I'll let you know that later. But we're literally on the cusp here. But you can get me and our team through finelyfettled.co.uk. And there's a contact form there, and we'd love to hear from you. Or you give me a call. I mean, I don't know, WhatsApp is. I don't know if probably my mobile's on there somehow, but I'm sure you could give me a call on WhatsApp. I do it to India. I don't think it costs me anything apart from a bit of data. But it's amazing, isn't it? You can contact somebody in India, and it's like they're in the next room.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It is incredible. I mean, that's
you're even further as well. You're in Australia.
Yeah. I am. I'm in Australia. I'm all the other side of the world. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Australia are as good as India at cricket. You're probably fairly good, I suppose. But
you're losing me now, Graham. You're losing me. I just want to say thank you so much. I mean, I love speaking with you so much. It's been great to listen to. It's been like a masterclass in really banging down the door. And from someone who used to have a lead generation company for 12 years that was predominantly phone-based, man, we could have done things a lot smarter if we'd only known about some of these things. And I'm sure that there are a lot of businesses today who are thinking about their businesses, their target market, the way that they approach them in a completely different way. And for me, it all comes back to making customers know that they matter, because they do. And that's exactly what you've described today.
What a great summary.
Thank you. Thanks again, Graham.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, you've been listening to The Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard. And to find out how the Sales Doctor can help your organisation to transform its revenue, growth and profit, please email me at ingrid@thesalesdoctor.com.au. Visit us on our website at www.thesalesdoctor.com.au. I look forward to your company next episode. Bye for now.